Welcome back to Improvision Entertainment. My name is Hunterman,
And I'm Cody.
and this is going to be repetitive for anybody who was just here for the past couple of minutes, but we are pretty sure, we might keep going, but we're pretty sure we're going to do a post-mortem on the game that we were playing last night, bonus stream, and we're going to see how that rocks out. Let me see if I can get myself more properly lit.
You've got a question from Master Dodo 15 asking, what is this economy?
What is this economy? That's a great question. Let me go look at this economy really quick. It's not a good economy. I'll give you that. Okay, 1 second. I have to okay. But what is this economy is a good question. So here's what this economy is. Synchronizing game. Oh, we got started. Cool. Okay. Alright. So, my economy is pretty bad to my understanding of how you play Stellaris at this point in the game.
But just to say nothing about how absolutely horrible mine is.
So what I was saying was I expanded too far along all these paths, and hi Master Dodo, I hope you're having a good time. Alright, so I just kept finding more land, which I'm not used to, so I kept using influence and alloys to grab the next star bases. In fact, Master Dodo, what you've turned in for is me and Cody trying to go over all of the mistakes that we made playing this game of Stellaris so that we can do better. As long
This
as
isn't quite a tutorial game, but it's kind of a tutorial in the sense of I have never played Stellaris before, and Hunterman is kind of showing me the ropes, at the same time that Hunterman was also in the process of learning how to play the Necroid race that she made.
And Megacorps, which I've never gotten to get off the ground and have gotten patches so that they might be easier to play. So two things at the same time. I was playing a Necroid Megacorp, but I kept getting weird luck. So one of the things I was just pointing out is that I kept expanding in every direction from here at my home base, all the way out to various using alloys and influence, and I was expecting an AI here. I was expecting an AI here. I was expecting an AI here. This AI between me and Cody was basically the only AI I wasn't really expecting. But there they were, and we scrunched them in. And by the time I got over here and started trying to set up this starbase, these guys over here, these penguin dudes, were very much like, okay, so we see that you come over here, we see that you're super weak and you're building a starbase, we can sack you now. So they came in and they started trying to do that. And that was our first war, which was a little over 10 years ago.
Right, yeah. So that was the Haspelv, whatever they're called, the Haspelv Nation, I think. Yeah. And well, while all of this is happening, bear in mind, I'm playing the Vixium Imperium. It's a race I built, not really understanding entirely everything about the game. I understood some things.
To Cody's detriment, I turned off guaranteed habitable world, so that was my mistake. Again, more mistakes.
Right. And since my race already doesn't have good habitability because of one of the it's not a perk, but negative perks that I took.
Trait, I believe we're looking for.
Trait. Words mean things. I don't know them. But yes, long story short, if you take a quick look in the Vixian Empire, you'll see there's a bunch of planets in there, and none of which are habitable to me. I only recently got to the point where I could start terraforming. Unfortunately for me, that doesn't do me a whole lot of good since I have no real energy expansion area left, and it takes 5,000 energy just to start terraforming. So, I mean, the best I've got to 53% on a potentially habitable planet, a tropical world, and we are 59 years into the game. So I have a grand total of one planet right before I started colonizing with Hunterman's race on two others.
Yeah, I kept saying that Cody needed to go back and like grab a planet, but I guess my bad for not being insistent enough. Let's double check. Right up here, most likely, if you can see my screen, Cody, just past the galactic core, or possibly just over here, is where our Marauder galaxy is most likely to be, or Marauder group is most likely to be. And as a result, that is going to, like, they're going to come in, they're going to be a problem later, but it looks like they might logistically be far away from us.
Well, my guess is the whole thing is probably that they have both a wormhole and an L-gate ready to just walk into my system.
That's possible. like, we're not in a good setup, so we're going over all the things that we did wrong. So me not doing habitable worlds for Koadi to start playing the game, and also because I keep talking about how many hours I've played the game and not won, maybe that's contributing. But you know, I always feel like I in the past haven't been able to get to the worlds very quickly. Meanwhile, I have tons of worlds over here that I can't populate because nobody's immigrating.
The Master Dodo says, even if they aren't that good for your species, you can still colonize it. You can still make use of its resources. And well, that is true. And I have kind of learned this on some extra play that I did after our stream ended last night. I will say that my potential habitable planets right now are in like the 20s and the 8% and the 18% era. So that
his are down at Tomb World levels as far as where he can inhabit right now.
Right. So, my understanding at the time was that trying to do that to colonize there, to make use of those resources, would be more hassle than it would generate for me. I don't know. Bear in mind, I'm still new, but that was my understanding as of the gameplay that we were doing last night.
Well, I think that being able to grab what is essentially yellow worlds to you would have been your next step that you could have done, especially with migrating with or colonizing with, say, just even my race.
Right.
But yeah, if push comes to shove and you need to expand, that's one of those times you click over on the expansion planner on the left side, and you can click along on the columns at the very top to figure out, like, if you're trying to find a particular something, if you have to bite the bullet and go to a planet that's not very habitable, like, where is that and what would you colonize?
Right.
Like, I got a level 25 world I was looking at, which is absolutely, like, 38% habitability is not great, but it appears to have 15 total possible districts for minerals. So that would be pretty good as far as, like, being able to make an alloy world or something.
Yeah, now I will say, as of the final bits of expansion that I did find one other desert world, which would have been perfect for your race. And, you know, that's a thing. It's down in Mardum, if you remember, kind of down below TMF.
Yeah, I was just noticing you had a very nice green world down there that's not that big, but...
Yeah, but you know, you were impressing upon me that the size was kind of a factor, and so I didn't really I didn't know how important the whole having extra planets was going to be. I have since learned, and so this was a good learning experience. I have since learned about that, and yeah, I'm a complete noob on this. You know, sue me.
Yeah, I am not a great... So, for Master Dodo, who might still be watching, basically, I am an average, which means lots of failing, Stellaris player who's put over 900 hours into the game and am not very good at it, but I know the basics, so I'm trying to get Koadi up to speed. This was Koadi's first game. So another thing I would say, Koadi, is that basically, okay, so my understanding of how planets work basically boils down to this as far as, like, size versus habitability. Habitability has to do with happiness, so that you have to put in amenities to kind of counteract how uncomfortable people who are on the planet. So that means you have to eat up building slots or if you're in, like, a habitat, a cultural center, I think is what they're called, because they actually produce amenities. Amenities is what you're looking for. So that eats up building slots over the long term for how many building slots you can have. So, and on the opposite side of things, a low size world means that you'll have fewer districts to put on the planet, even if your population can grow up and get you more buildings. Buildings is based on population, not size of planet. So that's why it's better to build a agricultural district if you can, rather than an agricultural building, because an agricultural building generally gets you like 2 agricultural jobs, but an agricultural district gets you 2 agricultural jobs and 2 housing. Master Dodo
says there.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, there is an event that can happen in the game. When you get a certain tech, your species can self-modify. As I recall, we were talking about that. That was one of the genetic modification ones. Is that right?
That is correct. Well, there's an event for that, and also you can get a tech that would allow you to, for example, remove your bad habitability. Or here's another pro tip that you can do with that. What you could do is you can make a template of your race, keep your original race, and in that template, change which planet type they are habitable to, and just and then go to a planet in which they are on already, and say everybody on this planet become the habitability of that planet, so you actually have different versions of your race which are more habitable to different planets. There's a lot of ways to get around unhabitability, and there's a lot of ways to do a lot of things in the game. You can change the planets to you can change you to the planets, you can invest in robots who can get your workers going down. So even if you have low habitability on a planet, you can have the planet so you don't have that many people who are just in the actual ruling jobs, because the robots can't really do that. Of the planet, make sure they are pleased, but the robots, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of different ways and different tech to come about this.
And this is all stuff I am still learning. I do have picked up on some of it, but I mean, I haven't messed with any of the genetic engineering. I had only just recently got a hold of the terraforming gases tech. So unfortunately, I hadn't had even the chance to use it before we had a war on two fronts declared on my nation, which, with my failure of a navy, is going to end in blood and tears.
Right, and so that's part of the whole thing of Stellaris Stellaris can end up being one of those situations where you can lose a person early on by mouthing off the lore. I was trying to prevent excessive, even further confusion, more than you were occasionally getting confused, by not dropping everything on you. But you've put in a number of hours to the game, so I feel safe going, oh, you've seen the terraforming gases, you know they change the planets. Oh, you've seen the genetics, you know that you can change the genetics of any race, that you have the genetic points to do anything with. Oh, you've seen that there are techs that just give you 5% more habitability, and galactic measures which can remove your habitability. So you know that there's ways of changing your habitability. And the thing is, if I started trying to tell you all the different ways, one, I would go on for a while, and two, there are even more ways that continually getting patched for free into the game that I haven't even seen yet, not including anything that just got added in the recent expansion of Necroids. So
right, yeah.
So let me see. So yeah, I think primarily all of my faults stem from continuing to expand when I should have stopped. And I should, and I kept, and if anybody goes back and watches the video, and Koadi was there for it, I kept saying that to myself. I really need to not be doing this. I really need to stop at some point.
You did call yourself out, but did not listen.
That's true, and that's.
So I guess here's my question.
I was being pretty sus, is what was happening.
That was very sus, which reminds me, anybody wanting to join us can always hop on our Discord. We do a lot of Among Us games as well, so please feel free to join us in the future. But with that said, my question is how big of a place do you really want to shoot for early on? Obviously, you don't want to be too small to where you don't have any resources to mess around with, but you do hit a point where you start basically you reach your Empire Sprawl limit, and then maybe you have what you need, maybe you don't have what you need. How can you tell? I guess that's a good question to ask.
All right, as somebody who has only beaten the Endgame Crisis twice on the lowest setting, the answer to that question is something that you will hopefully begin to figure out sooner than I am. But basically, the rule of thumb, I would say, is in the early game, your hope is that you can have more habitable planets in less space. Because, as you can tell here, building mining stations will cost you 1 energy each one, and will get you between, I think I've seen mining things like super rare BA1, and I'm like, why would I have you? But otherwise, 2 or more, and so you want the bigger ones because you'll get more bang for your buck with spending the energy. And the same with research stations. The more you get out of the research, the better it is to build the thing, because 1 energy to more is good. But the biggest places to be able to grow and grow thick and do well are planets, which is one of the reasons I kept trying to get you to get planets, because planets will have a combination of districts and building slots for being able to improve various aspects of overall society. One of the things that was really difficult in some of the early revs of Stellaris, back in the 1.x Stellarises, was the game would want if not planets, sectors to be overall positive. Now the game cares a lot more about your overall society and just assumes that you have like trade routes that connect everything together. Imagine trying to do all the balancing you're doing right now on the civilization scale, but keep doing it in smaller clumps, making sure planets aren't worse off, making sure sectors are taking care of themselves. I mean, it's still good business to do, but at the same time, it's not required any longer to be able to be prosperous. So, for example, when you started out, you had those planets that you eventually found behind you, but like straight up, because you didn't have the 2 habitable worlds, and that's why the game includes the understanding in its random generation why you should have habitable worlds if you want to be certain of having a decent time, is because you didn't even you found a number of planets but not habitable planets. But that's one of those things that you learn about which techs to go for, like, and we weren't getting good tech rolls. To Master Dodo, who might still be there, neither Koadi nor I got an expansion to our fleet capacity as a tech for what, over 40 years?
Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
So even if we had the capacity to have bigger fleets, which we didn't and should have, we were stuck at 20. Yeah, that was you're right. That was not a good roll. Like, even if we had been better about keeping our fleets more up, we would have been incurring like upkeep and empire sprawl from going past our cap if we want to be able to do a good war. So that's one of those things about like why I always end up defaulting to the easiest early military for me is not fleet size, but is to basically beeline really strong star bases. But to your bad start over here, Koadi, and like I rolled on the other page, which I ended up making up because of weird scenarios, like on my solo game I was playing this week. Here in your situation, you weren't getting any good plants to go for, so you could have tried to have basically looked into all of your neighbors, see who you could have sent an envoy to get on good grounds with, gotten a migration treaty, and used them to populate your planets, and that's one avenue. If you saw the terraforming gases, you wouldn't have had the money to be able to go for it. Your earliest game bet, if you had the option, would have been probably going for robots and trying to I don't remember if it's the first level, it might be the second level of robot you can actually use to colonize planets with. There are like 3 levels of robot.
And I know for a fact I never got the robot pop.
Okay.
That was something I had been keeping an eye out for. I was thinking maybe robots.
You know what? I never got the robot tech either. And I was gonna lean onto robots for this playthrough.
Yeah, because you were materialist.
Fanatical, I think. Yeah, fanatical materialist. Yeah, we didn't have a so it was a lot of stuff that we can learn from, but we also had some bad luck on top of it. Let's see. Okay. We definitely need to regardless of how low our fleet cap was, we did need to reach it. Like, we did need to have our fleet cap up, because if we had our fleet cap up, we wouldn't have had war declared on us. We got our fleet 2 cap when we had our first war declared on us, but if we had our fleet at cap, we would have been less likely to get attacked and be able to prosper before that. So that's a fault we both made. Well, Master Dodo, if you can give me any tips on playing the current iteration of Megacorp, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to Necroid, and I'm doing that in Megacorp. I don't know if Koadi and I are going to play these same 2 races. Koadi, do you think you'd be making a new race?
It's possible. I know the one of the guys we were talking with last night mentioned that if you are hosting the game, I might be able to try creating a race with the DLC stuff on it. So I might look at the options there.
Okay.
I might also just kind of tweak the VIX.
I'm trying to think if we have anything else to like I think I'm not going to say that I didn't make any other mistakes, though I will say I didn't make as many mistakes as I thought, but my biggest overwhelming mistake was continuing to expand when I needed to have stopped at some point. I believe that even though it was still a little late, that after I got to a Bardigan down here where this one planet is, way on my left, that I think I should have stopped there and started backfilling, and that would have been a very decent size, because the thing is, regardless of how much space I grab, if you have a strong nation, if you have a strong military, you can just go take the rest of it if you want to. So
That's true. And Master Dodo says, so far you want to have trade agreements with other nations. More trade agreements you can have, the stronger your economy is.
yes, and and that's why I'm saying this is the fault that came to all other faults, because I was turning down occasional research and otherwise agreements to get in good with other nations, because I wanted to keep having the like +4 influence a month to be able to build the next star base, the next outpost I should say, to like continue expanding my territory, which was a decision I made that was wrong. Like that, everything comes back to that. Why didn't I make the more trade deals and stuff like that, or go for them? Because I wanted the influence. If I
And
was
if you hadn't
losing
been trying
influence,
to expand so much, you wouldn't need as much. So that kind of compounds on itself.
yes. So that's one of those what I call the civilization problem, which is when I get far enough into the game where I'm like, oh, I'm getting my feet under me, and then I see the war coming, and I'm just like, oh, I made a mistake a millennia ago that I just kept making. That like,
Right. Basically, you didn't play like the Ferengi, and you should have played like the Ferengi.
you right. Oh, and and as a result, I also didn't grab this colony that would have gotten me an L-gate, which would have been neat. Then we both would have had L-gate connections. That would have been really neat.
That would have helped a lot for, well, actually we never quite got to the point where I could use my L-gate anyway, but...
I mean, yeah, L-gate's a little bit in there, but I don't see any replies from Carl just yet. Alright, so do we think we have anything else to say about this particular game? Do we want to try and salvage it? I obviously think that we can, but I also think it's weird that I can't use my WSAD to move around. There we go. I was like, what happened? Okay.
So my opinion as it currently stands is, well, I would like to maybe come back to this when I have a little bit better of an idea on maybe how I can go back and fix some mistakes. Maybe we table this game, not like put it into the ground, but maybe we table this particular game and come back to it later and try to start with something that's a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah, the big trouble in Stellaris is that, like, by the time the next game update comes out, it may make this... Well, it won't make the save unplayable, because one of the nice things about Stellaris, you know how you have that beta branch of stuff like Among Us and otherwise in the Steam interface? Stellaris almost always keeps some of its old versions around if you need to unupdate the game to a certain version to play your save file, so there's always that. Stellaris is really good about that.
Right.
The most powerful thing I played was being a criminal megacorp, getting every nation and planet up to 100% crime. Nice! I like it, Master Dodo, but here's the thing. I played Megacorp for the couple of months off and on right after it came out, before they apparently patched it and made it so, like, you wouldn't just get your home office kicked off a planet all the time, which was happening a lot. And so it just became really hard to expand, and I became convinced that I was doing it wrong until I watched a lot of videos of people going, oh, they finally patched Megacorp, so it goes like this and goes like that and the other. I was like, wait, I wasn't doing bad? It just didn't work like it was supposed to? So, like, I always default to, alright, what am I doing wrong? Like I'm doing with Necroids. I can't figure out the population go of Necroids. Alright, so I guess... we can leave this here. We haven't unpaused or anything. So we can come back to this if you want, Cody. This is our... Otherwise, this is our post-mortem / possible hiatus of this... okay? Of this save that we can come back to.
Yeah, I think that would probably be for the best. You know, getting a chance to start again, maybe closer, maybe not. Also, you know, maybe we can talk about tweaks and stuff when we go into the next game for the settings as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to turn on Habitable Worlds, because it's going to make the start easier, and as much as I like the player lost. As much as it's going to make the start easier, and as much as I feel like, oh, I don't care, let's go for the random generation of the universe, yada yada, like, we need some ease. We need some ease up front. So, on that note, I guess if we want to just call that the middle ground post-mortem, that was a couple of minutes of work, we could call this here for anybody watching on YouTube later so that they don't come into this thinking like they're going to get one game and they get the next game. We'll just make this a short little recording.
Yeah. I mean, making it a postmortem and a maybe to be continued. We could put in a playlist at some point.
That's true, that's true. Oh, and I need to apparently go up there and turn off the message that says bonus stream because we are doing actual regular stream.
Haha.
Huzzah. Okay, so on that note, for anybody watching on YouTube, I've been Huntermun,
I have been Koadi.
and this has been a postmortem on the bonus stream stuff we did for multiplayer last night in Stellaris. And we will see you in the future.
Stay tuned.